Welcome to the Alaska Santa Fe and Pacific's Model Railroad. Well, hello everyone. I'm going to attempt to make some more chain link fencing. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Hopefully it'll come out right. I've got all the stuff laying here. Got some metal rulers. Got some little clamps, little 2-inch squeeze clamps. Won't need those right away. And then I have all kinds of tools laying around here. So we're going to start off with, I got two sizes of wire here. It's supposed to be brass. This is a 0.040 brass wire. And that'll be the cross pieces. And then I have some 1.5 millimeter for the upright post. I was looking for 1.6, but it's been hard to find. So what I do, I've got a jig that came from Brennan's Better Ballast, believe it or not. And what you do is you take, and I already know the size of my fences that I've been doing. So what I did is I arranged these pieces of bolt. I only need to go about halfway up on the top side, and then I'll trim them down when I get down to that. So you cut them off flush with the board and go halfway up the bolt here. So it just somewhere close. I know it's about 1/4 of an inch above this, so I got way more than I need, but just not trying to waste a whole lot of this stuff. Like everything, it's not cheap, so you want to conserve as much as you can. Anyway, once I get the wires cut, I'll show you what I do. I always trim this so it's square on one direction. You're cutting all the pieces to fit here. Let's see if this one's long enough. Yeah, a lot less waste now that I've retrimmed the or realigned the bolts so that they're more even. I was cutting off that whole piece right there almost an inch each time I trimmed the fence post, so it was a waste. But this way I can get maximum length out of my post here. And see how square the ends are. They're not too bad. Less waste. This stuff's not cheap either, this little brass wire. Stuff going up and up and up like everything else. I got a really fine flush cutter pair of pliers here. I don't know if you can see it. But I'm just cutting the upright post right now. Get all those cut. One more here. All right. Now that I have all the uprights cut, I got my soldering iron heating up over here. What I do now is I take a piece of this masking tape, just a little strip of it, and I try to tape all these down to keep them somewhat in line. So I put it over here because it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be soldering right on top of these. And this will keep all my posts from moving up and down while I'm trying to solder. Kind of an extra thing. You don't have to do it, but these things are real sensitive about moving around. So it just helps keep them in place. Not a real critical thing, but it helps keep things aligned, and you'll see when I start soldering the wires, it'll make a big difference. All right, these little cross boards are to help keep the wires from bending down and up. Okay, so that's all of the uprights. Now, grab a piece of this finer cross wire, and they're all, unfortunately, they're all short. I don't have any real long pieces, but that's okay. So what I do, as you can see, there's a slot here with these bolts. I take and lay this wire down, and this is where a little tape helps again. You want this piece of wire centered on the upright right in here. It's so slippery. So you tape that down, and you go down here and do the same thing. You notice it just happens to fall right in the middle of the next piece. So that's kind of neat. Hopefully you guys can see this. You can zoom in if you want, but all right, that's the first piece of wire. Now, to make it easier, I can go ahead and take the next piece and put it butt to butt here. Let me trim this one a little flatter. Okay. Now, I don't cut this leg off because I'm going to be making a longer piece of fence. I think I need 14 inches or something like that. So I just go ahead and leave it. Get this piece taped down so it don't move around. And they're never perfect. They're going to move around a little bit on you. Okay, now I got my soldering iron set at about, let's see what's the temperature, 334, somewhere in there. 360. Anyway, I use, it's getting harder to find, but I use this 6040 rosin core solder that Radio Shack used to do. I think I paid $70 for this roll of solder. But you got to have the rosin core because it has to have the flux in it to get it to seep through. So now what I'm doing is heating up both of these wires with a little bit of this solder. And what I try to do is I get the solder flowing between both of them, and then I keep trying to get the excess out. Now I've got a little, I don't know if you can see this, a ball with some brass fiber. It looks like a Brillo pad, but it's copper. And you stick your iron down in there and it cleans the tip nice and good for you. Looks like I need to go down a little bit. All right, if your tip gets black like mine's doing, it's just a little too hot, I think. What am I at here? 730 is good. I just brought it down a little bit. Anyway, as you can see from this little cross piece, maybe I can hold it up and show you a little better. But there's just a bead of solder that goes between both wires and it creeps between them. That's what's holding it together. And then I'll do the same right here. Get the little bead of solder on it, gets it heated up. And you really got to let it get hot to get both pieces of the wires hot enough to suck the solder in. This one's not wanting to get the bottom for some reason. There we go. Okay. Anyway, if you got it hot enough, it'll flow a nice little bead around. And so just go down the row now. Let the bead of solder make a bridge. And then once it gets hot enough, it'll flow. And then you can take your iron and just kind of move it back and forth across it so you don't have a bead build up. But it takes a while to get both of those wires really hot enough to suck that solder right down in there to them. And if you get too much solder, you just take your iron, pull it back off. Got a little too much on that one. But as long as it's nice and flat across there, because your chain link's going to go across that. Okay, I think I got enough off of that. Okay, just keep going down the road here. .3D printers are going in the background. I'm trying to print up some more stairwells for the water tanks, or the oil tanks, and some crosswalks. I just sold Twisted MacGyver a set of them. He's going to try his hand at putting them together. They turn out pretty nice if you take your time putting them together. And come on. There we go. I think you got it. And so that's what I'm doing. Anyway, once I get both of these runs soldered on here, I'll come on, get in there. I'll pull it off and show you what it looks like when you get it done. It's going to look like a little ladder. Come on. Okay, I think that got that one. So, now what I try to do is stagger these, because I got the joint right here. So what I'm going to do is this. Yeah, I'm going to lay this one on this bar. And then I'll butt this together when I solder the two pieces together, making up a longer piece. Boy, that moves so easy. Okay. All right, I'll get another section here. May have to order more wire. This stuff doesn't last as long as you'd think it would. Okay, so what I'm going to do is trim this square. And then I'll solder this in and cut it off, because this is the starting point on the left. It's going down the run here. Or is it might be going the other way, who knows. Anyway, get this thing in here and soldered up. Now I'm just butting the two wires on top of this cross upright piece right here and just butt it together. And is it perfect? No, but it works. All right, so let's get this soldered in right here so it doesn't move around. Yeah, if you can feed your solder right at the bridge of the two, it'll pull solder around both wires. Like this. Get the little bead on there. Just a slow, tedious process. But it sure looks realistic when it's done. Somewhat. Okay, now I got one more to do. I think I got that soldered. Looks like it might be. We'll do this one over here. All right. Turn this off. It's a battery powered soldering iron, so I don't conserve the batteries. Okay, now that I have all of those soldered, we can go back here and pull all these pieces of tape off. if you didn't get it soldered, because when you go to pop it loose, where'd my X-Acto knife go? It's disappeared on me. Well, I'll use this. Nope, that didn't solder. See it loose right here? Both of those didn't catch. Interesting. I would have sworn that those were soldered. So I better turn this back on or I won't have any heat. Okay, that one got it that time. It's that bottom wire a lot thicker, and also the bolts act like heat sinks, so they pull some of the heat away from it. So there we go. Funny, you can see the solder when it finally pulls in. All right. If I have to touch it up, I will. Anyway, those got soldered, I can tell now. Get all of this off of here. Oop, those aren't soldered, and I can see that right now. That one wire might have been a little corroded or something. Trying to get all that extra solder off there. Usually I overdo it trying to get it to connect. All right, let's see what happens now. Still not connecting right here. All right. And I think that top row is all connected now. But we didn't get this one for some reason. All right, I think we got them all finally. What a pain. Like I said, this brass wire, I got two different wires. This is a phosphorus bronze wire and this is brass, so they have a little bit of dissimilar temperature range in their heat, but they work. Try to find any of this stuff, it's getting harder and harder. Okay, now that I've got them soldered, as you can see, I have a little grid now. And oops, that one's not soldered. And you can see it moved on me. Look at the leg on that one. See where it's at? Even with the tape, it still moved. So we'll just drop it back down here for a minute. We'll unsolder this boy. I'm surprised that moved that much. Anyway, you get the idea. This jig helps a lot, but it's not perfect either. I don't know, can't believe that moved that much. Okay, hang on a second. Gotta get it realigned here. Come on, get down there. All right, put some tape back on it one more time. And we'll re-solder this baby. Anyway, don't let it get frustrating, because it can be. Part of the, what do they say, part of the game. All right, let's try this one more time. Oops. Clean up the old mess there. All right, let's see if I got it. I think I did. Okay, so that makes for the first piece of grid work. Now you can see I got it pretty much the same. So what I do is I take and nip the tops off. I've been using a paintbrush. The width of this paintbrush is how high I'm cutting these off. So I usually cut them off before I get too carried away. That way if the soldering didn't work, I can come back and touch it up. Sometimes you need 3 hands to do this. And of course my little pieces of wire are flying all over the place. But that's okay, I'll pick them up later somewhere. This is about 1/4 of an inch, so it's a foot. The ladder. Oops, come on. Now that whole thing wasn't even soldered. It just came loose. Huh. Not having so much luck today. It's because I'm showing you how to do it. Anyway, you're getting the idea. So that's the main thing. So I'll come back and do some more of this in a little bit. Thanks for watching. Watch for part 2 soon.